There's a place along the northern coast of Cornwall where the cliffs fall steeply into a stretch of gray-green sea. The locals call it Whispering Bay, and for centuries sailors have avoided it, not because of the rocks or the storms, but because of the voices. When the wind blows just right, the sea doesn't roar or crash. It calls, and sometimes it calls you by name. The first records of Whispering Bay date back to 1764, when a fisherman named Thomas Penhale vanished while tending his nets near the cove. His boat was found drifting the next morning, empty, with his lines still cast. The only strange thing was the writing on the inside of the hull, scratched deep into the wood, as though with his own nails. It read, "It knows me." After that, others began to hear things, whispers, faint but clear, echoing over the waves at dusk. Some said it sounded like loved ones calling from the shore. Others heard their own names, spoken softly, almost tenderly, by voices that didn't belong to any living soul. And always, those who followed the voices vanished. In the early 1800s, a priest named Father Alaric Shaw was sent to the nearby village of Larrin to investigate what people believed was a haunting tide. He was a rational man, skeptical of superstition. He arrived at Whispering Bay with a crucifix, a lantern, and a notebook, determined to find a scientific explanation for the phenomenon. He wrote of his first visit. The sea was calm, unnaturally so. There was no wind, no movement, yet I felt watched. When I called out, the echo returned not as my own voice, but as something else. It spoke my name. Villagers said he spent 3 nights there, praying by the cliffs. On the 4th morning, only his lantern was found, still burning at the edge of the cliff, untouched by the wind. His footprints ended abruptly, facing the sea. In his notebook, found in a nearby cave, his final words were written in a trembling hand. "They are not gone. They are beneath. They are calling for me." As the years passed, Whispering Bay became a forbidden place. Even during daylight, the water seemed darker there, reflecting no light, no color. Birds avoided it. Fishermen refused to sail near it. Yet sometimes people still wandered too close, drawn by the soft, hypnotic sound of the surf. One survivor, a woman named Marion Ellis, claimed that when she was a child, she followed the voice of her mother, who had drowned years before. She said she saw her, standing on the rocks, smiling, arms outstretched. Marion stepped closer, hearing her name over and over, sweet as a lullaby. But when she reached the water, her mother's reflection twisted, her eyes black, her mouth opening far too wide. The next thing Marion remembered was waking on the sand at dawn, her hair wet with seawater, and her ears ringing with whispers. Every night since, she says she hears the ocean calling to her again. By the 20th century, scientists tried to explain the phenomenon. They claimed the cliff's unique shape created an echo chamber effect where wind and waves combined to produce sounds resembling human speech. But that theory didn't explain everything. It didn't explain the names. In 1959, a recording team from a London university set up microphones along the coast to capture the natural acoustics of Whispering Bay. At 2:37 a.m., their equipment picked up a voice. It whispered all 3 researchers' names, in the exact order of how they had introduced themselves earlier that day. One of them, a young technician named Edward Lane, reportedly went missing the following night. His last diary entry read, "It said it missed me." How could it know that voice? Those who live near Whispering Bay today still speak of strange occurrences. Sometimes, late at night, the tide rises higher than it should, reaching the steps of houses that have stood for generations. Windows rattle with whispers instead of wind, and people swear they hear knocking beneath the floorboards, like waves tapping from below. A few years ago, a local diver named Callum Reeves attempted to map the underwater caves near the bay. He descended with a small crew and full sonar gear. 2 hours into the dive, his radio went silent. His team waited on the boat, hearing faint static, until suddenly a voice came through. It wasn't Callum's, it was his own voice, but distorted, echoing, repeating, "Come down, come down, I'm here." The signal cut out. Callum never surfaced. His body was never found, but his dive camera washed ashore 3 days later. The final few seconds of footage showed his flashlight cutting through the black water and a figure swimming toward him. It looked exactly like him. Some say the sea at Whispering Bay is not water at all, but a mirror, one that reflects more than your face. Others believe it's a threshold, a thin veil between this world and another, where lost souls wait just beneath the surface, whispering, calling for company. They say the ocean remembers every voice that's ever screamed, every name ever spoken over its waves, and sometimes, when it misses one badly enough, it calls it back. So if you ever find yourself walking along a quiet shore and the sea is calm, too calm, listen closely. If you hear your name even softly in the wash of the waves, don't turn around, don't answer, because the moment you do, the sea will know you've heard it, and it will whisper again and again, until one day you answer it for the last time. The sea that whispers your name. Another unsolved tale from Legends of the Dark. Subscribe now for more chilling mysteries the world was never meant to remember.